guys? Welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy. He is 58 years old. He has been a free single man for the last 11 years after being married for 7. And he shares his story, how he, like a lot of guys, eventually gave up or caved on his boundaries because he wanted to get married and have a family. Obviously, a legacy was important to him, and so he put aside his boundaries and all and married the wrong woman. And you're going to see, guys, just how much of a mistake that was, and how, interestingly, for the first part of his life, up until he was like 38, he had boundaries. He enforced them. He'd have a girlfriend, things were good for a while, eventually her true colors would come out, and he'd kick her to the curb and move on to the next one. He was kind of a serial monogamist. Well, unfortunately, he learned the hard way with the wife that he finally had, and eventually kicked her to the curb after 7 years. And I'll be very going to go over here, guys, making the point that I know a lot of you guys out there say, no way in hell, never get married at all. That's it, no way, no how. And I believe a lot of you are serious about that. But there are also a lot of you guys that do want to get married one day, not for true love or any nonsense like that, because you do want a family. Fair enough. Well, you got to have boundaries, and you must enforce them. And that's also why you got to spend years with a gal to get to know her, because eventually her true colors most of the time will come out. You rush into a marriage, not enough time to do the vetting and all that. So you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about here. And in the end, I'm going to go over a bunch of things that, in my opinion, are definitely deal breakers, boundaries that I think all you guys should have, regardless of your situation. So he says here, Dear SSM, my name is Jim, and I believe you and the listeners might enjoy and possibly learn from my experiences. I am young at heart and young, feeling like I'm young, and I'm a 58-year-old man. I've been divorced for 11 years now after a 7-year marriage. Well, I'm glad you're free, man. Yes, I got off to a late start with my first marriage not being until the age of 39. Here's my story. Growing up, I was the youngest of numerous siblings. I watched most of them go through divorces pretty early in their lives, and it was awful. And even though having a family of my own was a massive priority for me, even from a young age, I was determined to learn the lessons of my siblings and be very careful with who I marry. There you go, learning from other people's mistakes. That's what you want to do, guys. That's why you listen to these stories here. I mean, that's great you all tune in every day, but just staring at me talking in the car, obviously you want to hear some good stuff and learn from it and be entertained. I pretty much flew under the radar in high school and didn't date very much. Plus, me going into the military made me somewhat disinterested in relationships for the most part at that time. That was very smart, man. As you're well aware from these stories, don't get married in the military, guys. And frankly, I wouldn't even do relationships, because if you're going to be deployed, being all over the place, the long-distance relationship in the military, you all know the stories. Just wait till you get out. While I was in the military, I actually dated quite a bit. You mean you hooked up quite a bit. But I didn't really fall head over heels with anybody, and I then decided to get out of the service and go to college. I did start to get hot and heavy with someone that I liked a couple months before leaving the military, but she wasn't interested in following me home to college. Well, I'm glad that didn't work out. I must have really, really liked her at the time to offer that. But obviously, it was for the best when she said no to me. So from the age of 22 to 38, I would say I was in 4 serious relationships where I was head over heels with someone, and I guess they were with me too. But there always seemed to be something really off with them once I got to know them. Big surprise, right? Yeah, and this makes my point why you need to spend years with your girl to get to know her. Because people can really hide and cover up who they are for a while. Some can really, their true colors can come out within months. Others could take years. And this is not a guarantee, guys. This isn't foolproof. Some can hide it literally up until you say I do, and all of a sudden the harpy emerges. Others, right away. And I know you guys are thinking that if you want to, one day have a family, you're wasting years getting to know her, but still, you got to play it safe. It says here, and the lessons of my siblings would always come back into play. And I would break up with them because I didn't want to marry someone that I would just end up in divorce. Exactly. And you can see this could be discouraging if you want to have a family one day, guys, but you can't compromise on your values otherwise. And by the way, when I say you can't compromise, okay, let me rephrase that. Let me start again. When you have serious deal breakers for you, those you don't compromise on. But other things like minor things like where you're going to live or these type of things, that's a little different. Now, some people where they live is a deal breaker. Everybody's different. But the major things, which I'll talk about later, in my opinion, no guy should compromise on. SSM, that was not easy to do. I really loved them, but to me, they were doing really odd things, and I end up just believing that they were not marriage material. Well, trust your gut. And this is why, guys, I've said quite often, and I stand by this more and more as I get older, you could love your girl, but don't be in love with her. Because when you're in love with her, you're going to have a major attachment, and you're going to have a very hard time ending it when things go crazy. You'll make stupid mistakes. You can love her. It's almost like a stronger version of liking her a lot. You can enjoy her company. You can have a good time. You got things in common, But it's easy to end it with her when things go haywire or you start to see things about her you really don't like, you don't see a future with. But if you're in love with her and you have this attachment, good luck with that one. Seriously. I guess now, when I look back, I would just call these odd behaviors or women just being women. But I still felt the call for a family. Here we go. It happens to a lot of guys. It hasn't happened to me. And I decided that I was going to have to be more patient with the next person that I met. In other words, that's another way of saying I'm going to start being more lenient. I'm going to let go of my boundaries. Well, watch what happens. And I started to realize that, hey, they really are different than from us men. I read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and I started to read about actual brain differences between ladies and gentlemen. You mean like some actually don't have brains? And I wasn't getting any younger. So the next woman I met was the one I ended up marrying, and let us call her Jessica, of course. Well, if you're calling her Jessica, you know where this is going. I was much more patient with her, and she was actually a lot easier to get along with than the previous four were. Was she a lot easier to get along with, or was it just that you were letting down your boundaries? And, well, whether it was because I was more patient or she was actually more calm, I'm just not sure. But Jessica and I were married 12 months after meeting her. Smack! Are you nuts? You just threw away all your principles because, let's be honest, you wanted a family. You can't do that, guys. And I might add, don't rushing into things. 1 year is not enough time. Somebody could really hide who they are then. Let's see what happens to see if I'm right. He says, by the way, I'm leaving out details about the women mostly out of the story because it's not really the point of the story. It's more about the courage that the R-pill statistics gave me to do the right thing. So anyway, Jessica and I were married, and immediately she became very combative and accusatory after I signed on the dotted line with her. Right there. He said, I do, and then her real colors came out. This happens a lot. He says, holy crap, but I'm not going to run away. I'm going to understand that there are differences between men and women, and I'm going to be a man and hang in there. Yeah, I get not wanting to give up or give in, but when you're miserable, you throw in the towel. You cut your losses. It's like a bad investment. I use this analogy all the time. You invest in something, and hopefully not all your money in one thing. It's not working out. Shit happens. You realize this ain't going to turn around anytime soon, and you're best cutting your losses, selling at a loss, having it offset your capital gains, taking the money somewhere else and moving on. It's the same thing with a bad wife. But, guys, got to be stubborn and stay in it. At this point, the longest relationship I ever had was 3.5 years. I ended up more than doubling that with my wife, but I digress. Well, I hung in there, but I guess on our 5th or 6th year marriage, I really started to wonder how the fuck women that were so sophisticated and so pretty and so professional and so nice could just turn around and be monsters. Because this happened to me every time it was really hitting me hard. Well, some people would hear this story and say, well, maybe it isn't them, maybe it was you. Maybe you were doing something to unleash the beast. But no, I think how many stories have I covered, guys? And in my own personal experience, seeing the monster arise from the fucking abyss after so long. I mean, look how many guys what they deal with in a breakup or divorce, where all of a sudden one day, or let's just say for a while things are good, and all of a sudden the breakup comes, and she turns into a Tyrannosaurus bitch on you. It's like, who the hell is this? Well, then I found statistics that would change my life. The first statistic was that women initiated 70% of the divorces. He says, what? At that point, I'd always assumed that men initiated the divorces more. No. They initiate the divorces, man. Because guess what? They usually make out like bandits in divorces. The statistics scared the hell out of me. But then I thought, well, maybe men out there were terrible at marriage and the women have to leave. That is white knight shit. No, don't get me wrong. There are guys out there that are scumbags and are rotten husbands, but overwhelmingly, that's not the case. But then I saw that lesbian divorce rates was also incredibly high. And I thought, if women can't make women happy, then how the hell am I supposed to make them happy? Very good point. Hear that alarm? That is not an ambulance. That is not a police car. That is not a fire truck. That is the thunderstorm alarm. Where I'm in Florida, I kid you not, alarms will go off if a major storm is coming. I guess the sensor can tell pressure and stuff like that. But anyhow, that's what's coming. So I got to finish up this video. Big storm coming. All right. Oh, okay. I was about to pause it. Where the hell was I here? Goddamn alarm. Anyhow. He continues on saying, so I didn't immediately leave her, but that definitely started preparing me mentally for a probable divorce. And then one day, about a year later, she pushed me way too far with her purposeless Tuscan Raider yelling and screaming, and I left her. Hallelujah. Took you 7 years. That's 7 years of your life that you could have maybe actually found someone that wasn't psycho, or enjoyed 7 years on your own. I bet you would have saved a lot more money if you didn't get married. Well, I did end up meeting somebody else 4 months after the separation. Smack! Dude, really? And I actually felt pretty hard for her. Well, probably because you were so miserable with your wife for 7 years. When I didn't think I was going to meet anybody that could interest me that much at all. But I knew I couldn't and wouldn't marry again. We stayed together on and off for about 3 years, and yes, I was tempted a bit for seconds to get hitched to her because she was really pushing for it, and I did really love her. But I stayed strong and never came close at all to proposing. Well, good for you. You learned. Most guys don't. Anybody can make a mistake once, like marrying the wrong person. I mean, it happens. But if you marry the wrong person, it's a bad marriage, and you go through a nasty divorce and do it again, that I don't get. And after all, the new girlfriend got violent one day, something that I had never dealt with before, and that was where I drew the line and left her. That was early 2017, and I haven't been in a serious relationship with anyone since. Well, I don't blame you. See, that was a deal breaker, getting violent. A couple years ago, I left Pennsylvania and moved to Florida. Sound familiar? Hey, welcome to Florida. I have great hobbies that keep me satisfied and entertained with life. I do well financially, and if I don't go on another date for the rest of my life, I'll be okay with that. You do well financially because you're on your own. If you were married, you wouldn't be doing as well financially. Or shall I say, you'd be earning probably the same amount of money, but that'd be going right back out the door. Since the breakup with that particular girlfriend, I've been on one date. Isn't that amazing? From age 32 until 48, I was probably alone only about a total of a year combined. If that, I guess I got it out of my system. Yeah, you did. You learned. You learned that peace and quiet is such a valuable thing. And you can be happy without having a fucking girlfriend, you know? But yeah, I think that without those statistics, I would have felt like an immense loser after the divorce. And very disappointed in myself after all that. But those statistics, that really saved me. And I think they're saving a lot of men right now. What do you think? Well, yeah, those statistics help. But also, I think what really helps a lot of guys out there is content like mine. I ain't the only game in town. There's a lot of good channels out there that can really share good information, share stories. Over here on this channel, overwhelmingly, it's personal stories. And you guys listen in and hear these stories. And I think it helps men feel like they're not alone. And they can learn from other people's mistakes, you know? And things, I think that really is a big, important part where a lot of guys are at least reevaluating things before they take the leap or the plunge. And I think if I could pass on one thing to the audience is that you must have deal breakers in your relationships. There you go. Well, you must have deal breakers, guys, but then you have to enforce those deal breakers or be prepared to walk away. But if you are in love with her, as opposed to simply loving her, it's much more difficult because you have that attachment. Says here, one and done examples. If she throws a fist at you, she needs to be gone because the next time can be a weapon. If she cheats on you once, one and done. It's incredibly amazing how many people will stay with those types of people. It's insane to me, and I'm sure there are other examples of deal breakers, but they're not coming to me right now. Maybe you could list a few. Drugs, maybe. Well, I'll list a few in a minute when this email's over. I guess it depends on if you're living with them or not, or she will share. Ha ha. But I digress again. Thanks again for sharing my message, SSM, and thanks for all that you do. P.S. One more thing. I recommend that if somebody starts pushing you for marriage, that you keep the answer very, very simple. Honestly, there's just too many divorces. Short and sweet. Agreed. Thanks again, SSM. Well, bro, appreciate you sending in your story. And just like I always say to the guys out there, it takes balls to write in and admit where you effed up, but you're helping somebody by doing that. So I appreciate that. I know I'll give you some shit and smack you on the camera, but it seems like nobody minds too much. So I appreciate that. And all you guys, you got a story out there to share, send it in. The more stories you share, even if they're humiliating, you're helping someone, and so you can at least put a silver lining in all the misery and suffering and effing up you did by helping somebody out. Trust me. And frankly, you're providing good entertainment for the audience. Now, you mentioned deal breakers. So I wrote down 12 deal breakers. Now, some people might think that's excessive, but when I go through this, I don't think you guys will think it's excessive. In fact, these deal breakers are quite common sense. And I might add, these deal breakers are ones that women can have towards guys, to be honest. So in no particular order, number one, physical abuse, you or the kids. Pretty obvious if someone's getting physical, no way. 2, mental and emotional abuse, again, you or the kids. This is before a marriage or during a marriage. That's just a no-go. But you guys can laugh about the mental and emotional abuse. I mean, come on here. 3, cheating. I don't need to elaborate on that. 4, no bedroom action unless genuine medical issues. If you're not getting any, that's a problem. Now, if your girl has genuine health problems, whatever that may be, okay, things can be worked around in time. You can be patient there. But if it's just simply, I don't want to, a man has needs. 5, drug or alcohol problems. I know a lot of people smoke some weed for fun and all that, or some do it for medicinal purposes. Okay, that's not my cup of tea. But I'm talking about doing the hardcore drugs, or it's all the time, or someone's an alcoholic and they're endangering themselves. Unless you're an alcoholic and you like to drink a lot. But to me, that's a total deal breaker before and during. Number 6, gambling problems. That should be pretty obvious. Going to the casino on a cruise ship or at the Vegas or somewhere locally for a night with some friends on occasion, and you're playing blackjack or roulette or whatever, no big deal. But if somebody's constantly gambling their money at the casinos or on various things, and you are worried about losing your freaking house and stuff like that, that's a damn good reason to end it with somebody. Number 7, spending problems, reckless spending. Guys, you're trying to build wealth. It ain't going to happen when you're someone that recklessly spends. It's okay to enjoy yourself in life, but somebody that just literally spends every dollar they have, they rack up the credit cards, their credit score is shit, that ain't going to work. 8, flaunting your body on social media, or anywhere for that matter. Look, guys, your girl cannot behave like she is some single college girl. She's with you, she's married, she's a mom, potentially. Shouldn't be behaving like that. 9, gaining a lot of weight, but not because of a medical issue. If all of a sudden your girlfriend, your wife puts on a bunch of weight, and it's not because of a medical issue or pregnancy, then, you can be patient trying to work with her. If she's making an effort to change that back, because everybody can go through bad times. But if it's excessive and she's doing nothing about it, meanwhile you are taking care of yourself, you're being disciplined with food, hitting the gym and all that, you got reason to, that's a boundary. That's a major boundary crossing. 10, behaving like she's single, hanging out with and chatting with guy friends, doing girls' nights to bars and clubs, that type of thing. If she's your girlfriend or she's your wife and a mom, she should not be behaving like she's 22 years old. The clubs, the bars, girls' trips to this place that has bars and clubs and the singles place, no. And of course, not hanging out with other dudes and texting other dudes, that is a no-go. And if she crosses that, you got reason to end it. And 2 more, that should be pretty obvious, body count. If she has a massive body count, you got plenty of reason to discontinue the relationship. And 12, discovering that she did things like OnlyFans, porn, well, the same thing. All those types of things, again, deal breaker. Now, a lot of guys, particularly young guys now, are going to probably start to discover more young gals. That the young guys are going in their 20s are going to hear about this more, where a gal they're involved with because they're young and because OnlyFans really came on the scene in 2020, have done a lot of dumb things on social media, flaunting their body parts and everything. And once it's on the internet, it's forever. You're going to discover this, and you guys have a good reason to say, nope, don't want to be involved with that. And of course, you'll be labeled controlling, insecure, all those other silly nonsense to shame you. Don't fall for it. You don't want your girl to be flaunting herself online, or she has already, or worse yet, made spicy videos. You have a right to end it. And this also goes if you find out that you got married and then look what she did. You have a right to end it. Because really, do you want that as your wife? And think about this. You're married, you have kids, and one day, because the internet is forever, those videos pop up, and your freaking son's buddies in the fucking 6th grade are like, dude, there's your mom. And he found her on some random website because her videos were downloaded from OnlyFans and popped up 15 years later. This is going to be a major issue, starting now, but especially in 5 to 10 years when these gals that were like in their early 20s in college started doing OnlyFans and flaunting it 5 or 6 years ago because that was empowering. When they want to start getting settled down in their late 20s or 30s, this is going to come back to bite them in the butt. And you're going to hear a lot of, if you think it's bad now, wait till all the freaking TikTok videos and blogs talking about women complaining about guys, not manning up and loving them for who they are and being insecure because they're past. It's going to be everywhere. But more of these videos show guys they don't have to accept that. But anyhow, that was a long thing. So those are 12 deal breakers, in my opinion, that are certainly reasonable about not getting involved with somebody. Okay, the storm is coming closer because the alarm's going off again. Time to go home. We don't just have rain down here in Florida in the summertime. We have like fucking Southeast Asia torrential downpours and flooding rains. Okay, I'll leave. Anyhow, guys, and also those deal breakers could be for women as well. All right, I can't think of this fucking alarm. Anyway, guys, there you go. And that story there. And, bro, I appreciate you sending that in. Really good story there. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And, guys, you got a good story to share, send it my way. strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's a good one, I'll definitely cover it. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.